Exactly how it look, and I'll tell you what. Follow your God.
What is going on, guys? It's Adam aka Marf, and tonight's show is going to be packed, so stick around. We have everything that has just happened, transpired. Of course, we're going to talk about, China and Taiwan drilling on their highways. Sounds familiar. Something that we just did here in the United States for the first time ever. What are they preparing for? We'll talk about that here in just a second. Remember, nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of myself, Dex, or anyone else on the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. All right, what is going on, guys? My name is Adam aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. I'm wearing my hat, so people are going to get triggered tonight. No joke. Every time I wear a hat, people just get bothered. So we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. If you want to follow along, this is a live show, so anything can happen. But we take the time before every single show to put every single link, every single video, every single document on marfooglenews.com. Now, when you go there, you'll see it's all very easily organized by thumbnail. So you'll look for today's thumbnail. Taiwan is now practicing landing here. It's becoming very, very clear, is right here. And then you'll see all of the links. So you can see exactly where your stories are coming from. You don't have to doubt that these are, you know exactly the source. And then, of course, on the right side, if you want to support us in any way, all of our affiliates are over there. If you want to go through My Patriot Supply through our link and save money and help the channel, you can go and do so at that top corner box, or EMP Shield, NordVPN, or if you even want to do a PayPal during the show, you can do so. At the very bottom, there is web-only content. This is too hot for TV stuff, basically the stuff that that knocks down doors and takes people prisoner. That kind of stuff is down there. So let's bring in my co-host / internet brother / on the phones tonight. Dex, what is going on and how are you doing tonight?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So just remember, the number to call is 224400MARF, and that number is slowly scrolling down at the bottom of the screen. And the alternative number, of course, Marf, is 6273. So that's 224400MARF or 2244006273. If you want to rewind that, you can. All right, let's get right into the news. And, of course, a lot of people are talking about La Palma, Canary Islands seismic crisis, September 2021. So over the last few nights, of course, a lot of people have been talking about this because there are fears that there would be this massive set of earthquakes that could possibly cause an East Coast tsunami. It says that the earthquakes continue and they are becoming shallower. So this is, again, something that a lot of people are paying attention to right now. In fact, at the very beginning of it, I went over to Dutch Sense, and one of the many times that he's had just incredible numbers in his chat. I believe he had something like 10,000 or something like that. It was a lot of people. And they were all watching intently because he was talking about this. Now, at that point, I saw a couple people say, oh, that's not a big deal. Now it's a couple days later, and it's almost like it keeps going. It says the seismic crisis continues with no signs of slowing. More than 250 quakes large enough to be located were detected during the past 24 hours. Minutes ago, a magnitude 3.2 event at only 4 kilometers depth occurred and was felt. This quake can be seen on the seismic trace as a large green signal. Now, again, this article is not incredibly fresh, but again, this is from the last few days over the last, basically this whole kind of batch of things. The reason why people are so concerned is because there are certain situations with earthquakes here that could cause major disruption and possible tsunamis. It says the volcanic seismic crisis continues to evolve. During the past 24 hours, earthquakes have been moving westwards and becoming shallower, the National Geographic Institute reported. This is likely reflecting continued magma intrusion and migration under the surface, supported also by continued deformation of the surface in the same area as the quakes. It says in places the ground has been uplifted as much as 1.5 centimeters, almost 1 inch already. The likelihood of an eruption has thus increased, and the situation is being followed closely, although it is still far from certain whether or not it will result in a new eruption of the volcano. Apparently that if the thing goes off, then chunks could fall off. Some people are calling this, I heard at least some people calling this fear-mongering, this and that. I would also say to those people, it is always better to know about these kind of situations. Anybody that is on the East Coast already has hurricanes and storms and, all sorts of different events that happen, and people still don't prepare. Something like this, if we did have a major tsunami on either coast, which we will have one on the West Coast, Cascadia Subduction Zone 9.0, the same kind of earthquake that hit Japan and Indonesia, but nobody thinks about it on the East Coast. Everybody on either coast should prepare for, at the very least, for their local storms. But on top of that, we have a whole number of things that are going on right now, including what we'll talk about later. Taiwan is now practicing harder than they ever have before for invasion. And how they're doing it, and they call theirs an invasion war game, they're actually practicing landing on their own highways. Now, the only reason you would do that is when your bases and all of your airports are knocked out by the enemy. That way, you have to use your highways. Highways are a good landing place if needed be in an emergency situation, but no pilots know how to land like that, or they don't normally do it because there's power lines and signs and all sorts of things. So they're actually practicing how to do that right now. That is something that we just did for the first time ever, but we didn't call it invasion war games. We just called it practice for, flying lessons, right? But now that they're doing it and the same exact kind of drill, it really should tell everybody, what they are expecting. But as far as this goes, it says more than 2,000 earthquakes in 4 days. Incredible amount of seismic activity since the beginning of the seismic series at 3:18 UTC on September 11th. It's almost like it was a sign. Up until 8 a.m. local time today, 2,935 earthquakes have been detected in the southern area of the island of La Palma. Of these, 616 were large enough to have their epicenters and depths located, so big enough to be sensed and located and detected. The largest quake occurred today at 6 a.m. with provisional magnitude of 3.9. Anomalies in the seismic attenuation that currently exist under the island of La Palma caused the magnitude to have been overestimated. IGN reported, it says, and revised magnitude to 3.5. At any rate, no matter what that is, it says the larger quakes are now being frequently felt and reported by residents who are increasingly worried about the situation under their feet. So if you were in La Palma, I'm sure you are going to be tripping right now. That is really, really scary. You've got a giant volcano there, and then you have all of this activity. People felt similar earthquakes and different tremors before, I believe, what was it? Hawaii's volcano, Kilauea. Kilauea had similar kind of little events. But then I don't know if Kilauea did as much as it could have done, right? If this was a full-blown thing, it could really screw some stuff up. It says a strong earthquake swarm is continuing beneath Cumbre Vieja, and now Pavelka has raised the alert level to yellow, citing the repeated occurrence of earthquake swarms since 2017. With this one being the strongest and also the shallowest, suggesting magma is flowing, slowly rising into the edifice. Measurements of helium-3 gas flux are also indicating this. So they do have different things that they can detect. They have different things they can look at, and supposedly none of it really looks that great. So far we don't know if it's horribly bad, but this is something we will be watching. There, all sorts of other information is down here. It's actually got some great stuff at the very bottom. If you want to read the rest of this article and go deeper and take a deeper dive into it, you can go to marfooglenews.com to read the rest. Remember, you can call in tonight. The number is 224-400-MARF. First-time callers are always encouraged. And then the B administration has great confidence in Milley after the report of calls with China to avoid conflict. Well, without trying to take any kind of side here, I would say that what Milley did is pretty cut and dry. And I don't know how many medias are basically, taking a full-on side and actually defending him. And it's very easy to do. Now, no matter if you absolutely hate the gentleman who was president at that time, this is something that is really disturbing, because to go over the president is a huge thing. And now, currently, we have in the last few weeks, people questioning if our current president is having somebody go over, since he's had the mic cut off on him like 3 times in the last month, and just 2 of them in the last week. And of course, Senate members are asking hey, who's got the power to cut his mic off mid-sentence? And they don't have an answer for that. So, with that and this, it's who really is in charge if the people underneath the president are constantly doing things over the president? That is a big question. Milley is a big subject right now. In fact, on the web-only content, we have connected you with a ton of really crazy stuff down there. If you go past all of the main articles, you'll see we didn't want to overflow today's show with it, but there's a lot, and people are talking about it left and right. Some are calling it treason. Some are calling it, at the very least, what was one of our viewers said, what did he say it was?
Sedition.
Sedition. Yeah, that's what he said, right? At the very least, mutiny. He said mutiny. Sedition or mutiny, basically that they were going behind his back. And if you missed last night's show, essentially what Milley did in 2 different things is right after the J6 event, he essentially said that he went down and made sure that he told all of his staff members they had a secret meeting, and they said, hey, we don't know, he might press the nuke buttons. So, everything and anything nuke related has to go through me. You don't go around me. I have to know if he does anything before it does it. So basically he's saying he was a wall between, him launching nukes. At the same day, he ended up calling China for the second time. The first time was 4 days before the main, drop of the balletos in the boxes, right? So he talked to China twice, talked to their leaders, and essentially he guaranteed that he would call China if we were planning a surprise attack. He is saying that he would actually call China first and let them know that he was that we were going to attack. What does that sound like to you? Let me know in the comments below. Anna McLean, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you for popping in early again with Lisa Marie S. Thank you, both of you, for your support for our independent little channel here. I appreciate you. And thank you for putting up with my hat. I only say that because every time I wear a hat, I don't know how many comments people go, why are you wearing a hat? Bad haircut, this and that. It's this is the big conspiracy, the mystery. Sometimes it's just easier, guys. So don't trip. Last time I wore it, people were like, oh my, he's wearing a hat, brain implode. Some people just don't like people that wear hats. I think it's like a trigger. They want to call them D-bags or something. If I turned it backwards, I think I would lose half my audience. That's honest truth. West shouldn't misinterpret or overstate Beijing's new tech regulations, ex-China exec says. Now, isn't it funny that we actually have this kind of company and this together? So the X, this, and this, right? Same with Tesla, same with a lot of big companies that should be kind of national security companies. They all have a China branch because China opened up after 1979 to capitalism and brought all this in. Recently, a lot has happened to actually shut that back down. Right now, it is very up in the air what China's about to do because they are cutting English. They don't want Western values taught. They don't want people idolizing people. They are banning effeminate men from television. They are telling their people in their official mouthpiece and the newspapers that are basically mandatory reading there through the mandatory apps that they all have to buy and sell and all this stuff. All of that is saying the same thing. It's saying that we, basically took a shot at them. And this whole current event that is happening right now is actually our fault and made at a base here in the United States. This was on August 29th that they did that. Basically taking pot shots at us and saying that we are responsible. That's telling their people that, hey, these guys are the culprit and things are about to change drastically. It says the former prez of China warned that the West should be careful not to overstate or misinterpret the recently introduced regulations by Beijing that have hurt the likes of Alibaba, Tencent, and Didi. Kai-Fu Lee, who now invests in Chinese startups, though, his venture capital from Sinovation Ventures told CNBC Tuesday that China is merely regulating a handful of large internet companies to ensure their significant market position doesn't hurt consumers. Because China cares about you. It says, that's not a lot different from what US and EU have done, said Lee, who is currently based in Beijing. Basically, they are cutting out these giant billion-dollar companies, the ones that you probably see. You've probably seen Alibaba. You've probably seen, there's a bunch of them. Tencent is a big one because they make all of the PUBG games, all the mobile PUBG games. They have millions and millions, if not a billion users by now. And they make a ton of money. And that money was being funneled into the government. So why are they cutting them back? Also, they are stripping the ability for some of these billion-dollar companies to actually list on the World Stock Exchange. Imagine if you owned a billion-dollar company and you were not allowed by your country to actually list it on the World Stock Exchange, but only the China local one, which is, it's basically an intra-market. It says there should not be an overinterpretation of the intent to limit the scope of large internet companies into an overreaching slowdown of the tech economy. Lee added, that would be a mistaken interpretation. The Chinese government is actually, quote, very big on tech, Lee said, pointing its push on areas like artificial intelligence, semiconductors, and cloud computing. It says the Taiwanese-born American computer scientist said he expects 10 to 15 Chinese AI companies to go public in the next year, and he argued that if it makes sense for investors to take stakes in companies operating in industries being backed by the Chinese government. It says if you choose to believe that the government will have the power to make or break a company, then the government is doing everything it can to make these AI, semiconductor, and cloud companies. So how can it be wrong to invest in them, he said. Now, Dex, I don't know. I know that you actually pay attention to this stuff a lot more than I do. One thing that I would say is the semiconductor part of this, and basically it almost looks like they're already making plans for Taiwan for some of the stuff that's going on there.
Well, yeah, and it's clear to me this message is coming from a startup, an investor, right? So he's trying to convince people, hey, don't take your money away, bring it back, bring it into China, and keep investing, right? And he's also sort of saying, hey, don't worry about the fact that the government is locking down on tech companies. That's not a problem. That's actually good, right? Well, we know what they're doing. They're not doing it for the sake of the people. They're doing it for control. Right, we see that all the time. We've seen everything they've done. So, the next logical step in this power on the tech side is definitely Taiwan. It's definitely Taiwan's semiconductor, which creates about like 70% of all the chips in the world, or a very significant portion. I may be off on that percentage, but it is significant. It is so significant that if they didn't exist, it'd be a problem, right? So, taking control of that, taking control of Taiwan, and especially Taiwan Semiconductor Company would be pretty important from a power position for the country of China.
And for them to for them to grab that company, think about what all of the supposed shortages that are happening right now because of that this one situation going on. With these shortage in semiconductors and these chips, they say that it's affecting the entire world economy because everything right now has these in it. If you did not watch previous shows, like I said, the average new car has anywhere from 140 to 160 of these chips. You may have 10 of these semiconductor chips or whatever in just one of your power seats, your power mirrors, your power lights, your power everything. Your probably those compass rear view mirrors have one in there that show you what direction you're going. That's how many of these are used. You're talking about pretty much every electronic that you can think of, any car, anything that you can pretty much see, laptops, video games, all sorts of stuff. It all uses this technology. And for up until now, there was like one place making it other than just a few little places. I mean, a huge percentage. So this is really, really, really telling. Like the title tonight says, it's becoming very clear. They are trying to get, and by they I mean China is trying to get as much money in as possible. It looks like I think the government has already said we've got everybody's money. Now we're going to shut it back down. We don't like capitalism. We don't like our people to have the ability to make money. And since these reports came out that they have more billionaires than us, they've been creating billionaires faster than anybody. They're now clamping down on that and then taking the ability for that to go away. They don't want their people to get too powerful. They can't even these billionaires in China. They're not exactly the same as U.S. billionaires because they basically have to buy stuff, and if they do, it has to be regulated through the government. And then also they cannot. I don't believe they can even own certain things. They can't own land in certain places or something. Very weird stuff. You would think that these billionaires would be funneling their money through other countries or buying stuff outside their country, but I don't know. I want to get an expert on the show. I have a couple people in mind that I would love to get on, or even have somebody like Sir Pensa on to talk about like how that works. How does it actually work living there? What can you buy? What can't you buy? I know that he owned a business, but he doesn't really own it because he has to have a citizen own it with him. And then, of course, I think he got booted, but I don't know. And then Australia to join US, UK in major defense tech sharing pact to counter China. Finally, it says President JB is expected Thursday to deliver remarks on a major new, quote, national security initiative, which ultimately appears aimed at countering China. Citing sources in the White House, Politico is reporting that the U.S., alongside allies, Australia and Britain, will unveil a landmark new security pact for sharing advanced technologies, defense technologies, that is. It says, in particular, nuclear submarine technology is expected to top that list for the tech sharing initiative. It says, as Politico writes, quote, the trio, which will be known as the acronym AUKUS, really? That's the best they could come up with. AUKUS, so I get it. AU, UK, and US. These are the most boring people in charge of these acronyms, mind you. It says, we'll make it easier for the three countries to share information and know-how in key technological areas like artificial intelligence, cyber, underwater systems, and long-range strike capabilities. One thing that I think of with this is, what if those get infiltrated by the already infiltrated, Chinese government or Russian government? If you have something like this that is basically pooling all three of their technology ideas, could somebody step in there and snatch all of them? You're getting the best of three different worlds. You're, boom, putting it all in one place. Is that what's going to happen? Or, again, is this because they are pooling together because they know it's about to be a full-scale conflict? Is this going to be a full-scale war? Is this them preparing for everything? Look at who is teamed up. People are basically saying, Red Rover, send Australia right over. We had the Axis of Evil, the new one, which has the I countries. It has, of course, NK. It has Russia. It has China. It has India. They're all doing these drills together. So all of these countries are getting together and being like, hey, let's be evil together. Well, now we're saying, hey, let's get together and let's be evil too. I mean, good. However you look at it. So look at that. What a picture that is. Could you, if you saw that in person, say you were in a little rowboat and then saw these things surface, I would need new rowboating shorts, because I'm assuming that you have to wear rowboating shorts. It's being further suggested that the pact is likely to result in Australia abandoning a $90 billion submarine deal with France, which was already for years fraught with tensions over soaring costs and production delays. So is France? Here's another thing. If we did go to a full-scale conflict, would there be anybody that we would think would be on our side that is not? As far as people that we think are going to have our backs and then they don't. Or they take the different side than everybody else, or take the different side than everybody thinks. Whatever's going on with France, I don't know, but again, it says, according to the Sydney Morning Herald, the anticipated AUKUS pact was likely the subject of federal ministers being called upon to an urgent, top-secret meeting in the capital. Dex, I know you saw that, right? A top-secret meeting in Australia's cap.
Hey, Adam. Yes.
It says
it makes you question.
So this was basically, it says in Australia, federal cabinet members or ministers were called to a top secret meeting in Canberra on Wednesday ahead of the announcement. Some members of cabinet were granted border exemptions to urgently fly to Canberra for a hastily arranged meeting, sources familiar with the development said. Okay, so does anybody need me to spell this out for you? US, UK, and Australia went to this emergency meeting and came up with this emergency pact where they give everybody each other their defense information. Why would you do that? Anybody have an idea? Anybody have any idea why it was so urgently done? Why they hastily put it together? Why they flew people out in a tizzy in an emergency?
Maybe they needed to get the information to Millie before he gets ousted so he can pick up the phone and call China.
Oh yeah. He's got to tell them everything, right? You have followed this channel, and by you, I mean the people that have been with me for a long time. Dex and I have been shouting off of the rooftops, and now it's finally becoming clear what is actually happening, and you're going to see more of this, and you're going to see more and more and more. We don't have a crystal ball. We do have a lot of military in the group. We have a lot of people that have had anywhere from high-ranking positions, as far as we've had a few, we've had senators' wives and senators watch in the past. We've had all sorts of very unique people watch the show. And putting together everything, we never trust a single source. We were telling you this 3 years ago. And 3 years ago, people were like, oh, it's been 6 months and nothing's happened. This is a long game, and we're at the very end of it. It's very, very clear. Whatever theory you have, I hope that it includes this, because this has basically, in a race of all of the disasters, taken the carpool lane to the front. Right now, we're with everything that's happening, sending military to the coast. Now, of course, they're moving people around like crazy, and under the guise of, under the reasoning of other stuff, we just so happen to have National Guard basically in every state at the ready, on top of our regular military that are all over the place. But on top of that, we are practicing landing on U.S. highways. Why would we be doing that? With A-10 Warthogs, on top of that, A-10 Warthogs are the frontline support for Marines on the ground fighting face-to-face with the enemy. Why would you need A-10 frontline support in the middle of the country? unless something happened, like, say, an invasion or the conflict came to us. The thing is people have never seen real conflict in most of these countries. They have not seen it here, at least. They've not seen it on their home ground. Unless unless you're 95 years old or 100 years old at this point, and you did see, WW2, and you were there in Europe, or you were in Pearl Harbor, or you haven't seen it come to your front doorstep. They're preparing for a front door knockathon. Don't know how much clearer it could get. We say the writing's been on the wall, but now the writing is being imprinted onto your eyeballs, and people are still closing them. And they're distracted by all this other drama. They're pointing fingers at each other, and they're totally just blurring all this out. Now this is starting to become the top thing, and subtly they've put it into your head, and now all of a sudden people are like, oh yeah, China's a big enemy. But you guys knew this even when mainstream media was saying, China's fine, everything's good, invest in China. Now it's turning around completely. Really, really crazy stuff. If you do want to call in on any of these subjects, 224-400-MARF. I just want to say a big, big thank you to Sean F. Says, thanks for all you do, Dex and Marf. Marf, move to Missouri. Cost of living is cheap here. Sean F., thank you for going over to PayPal during the show. I really appreciate that. And then Nappy Soldier did a 1776 donation. That is freaking awesome. And then actually did a 77. That's 1777. I think he did an accident and had to do it twice. Getting tight on the beats, Adam. Sending you some guitar licks soon. Please be remixing a couple of your beats. Send them to you soon. Love you, Marf and Dex. Nappy Soldier, I don't know if you're the one who was jamming out on the bass, but that was awesome. And I don't even know where that song is. I commented on your video, I think. If that was you, that was flipping awesome. I absolutely love the bass. That was awesome. And then Peter S., thank you as well for going over to PayPal and supporting. Before we get to our first caller, which again, Jim is our first time caller, I do want to remind you, if you do want, or if you've had the inkling to prepare, then I'd highly recommend going through My Patriot Supply. They have basically all of the essentials in one place. It's basically a one-stop shop for everything prep related. Again, they have pretty much everything. They have, sources of food. You can get a 1 month supply, 3 month supply, 6 months, a year. You can get all sorts of different plans there where you can get a huge bulk amount of food sent to you at a discount. Now, if you use our actual link, you will save $50 off on 1 month supply and $200 off on a 3 month supply. Really, I don't think I need to, tell you guys why you should have it. I mean, most of you are here for a reason. You're here voluntarily because you are looking into this stuff, and you are here for a reason. So again, they have essentials of life, basically food, all sorts of things to survive, anything from battery packs, solar panels, air filters, water filters, everything. In fact, a lot of really great brands like the Alexa Pure Pro, very comparable to the Berkey, which a lot of people know the name, but they also know the price. This is a lot better deal for the same results. Again, marfooglenews.com/prep. Again, marfooglenews.com/prep. And then, Dex, let's get Jim on, a first-time caller calling from Central America. Central America. That is some effort to get into the show. That is incredible. Jim,
hello.
Jim, what's going on? You are live on
Hello
Marfoogle
there.
News.
Nice to finally get on the show. I've been trying for a few days. I've got a couple of things to talk about, but one thing is about Elon Musk and Starlink and a possible link to Bitcoin. Bit of a theory I've got there. But if I could just touch on the story you've just covered, about troops and A-10 aircraft and things like that. If we look at Australia passed a legislation last year saying that they're allowed to use overseas troops on their own land to help deal with any unrest. Now, if we live in a world where it's possibly all smoke and mirrors, we look at the way that they're building up China in one respect, building up forces and giving people who pay attention like yourselves and the people that watch the show, they're pointing towards, oh, look, there's going to be a conflict of some sort. But also to think, is that a distraction? For example, World War II was possibly a form of pharmaceutical war started by the powers that be to stop Germany producing pharmaceuticals during World War II. And it's possibly, some people may know in the audience that large organizations and companies in America funded both sides of World War II. So with that in mind, if we extrapolate the history of that World War II to now, we're looking at a situation where it could be smoke and mirrors and the actual enemy could be the people. So where we're looking at the situation where we could have the US Army, the US police standing down and not enforcing certain things that may come in further down the road, could they get some other force from other location to try and do that? Obviously, I don't want to worry anyone, but there's a possibility.
Now, wait again, and I may have missed something there. There was I was trying to unplug. Okay. I was trying to unplug my earphones and plug them back in. You said Australia did blank. Okay. You said Australia did blank to.
Oh yes.
What was that thing?
Australia passed a legislation last year
to
allow them to use foreign troops. To allow them to use foreign troops on their own land. So bring troops in from abroad and use them in Australia.
That sounds like they were preparing for something, does it not?
It does. It certainly does. And if we look at the way Australia is going, they're further down the road than what everywhere else is.
And were you watching?
That was last year.
Were you watching the show just recently? They put into the budget proposals here in the U.S. That they would like to add women. They're basically going to add women to the draft, which the draft itself hasn't even been talked about for years. Now they're talking not only about the draft, it's quietly and silently going through and under. Yep. It's not about equality. That's my thought. Why would we need to add women to the draft unless we need pretty much every hand on deck?
Yep. I feel it's going to be smoke and mirrors to terrify everyone to make it a big deal and then cause a conflict, perhaps worldwide, and make a massive profit like they always do.
The industrial complex. So, and when you say the people, what do you mean the people? When you say the real enemy could be the people?
Well, so say, for example, some terrible law gets passed or some terrible decision gets made, and there is a massive amount of people that are against it, such as the things that are coming out now. There could be a point where the whole population says enough is enough, and they become the enemy. And then they need foreign troops to enforce things because the country's army, the country's police stand down and won't enforce the things that they brought in.
I get what you're saying. So the enemy would actually be, in that instance, the Australian people, and they would bring in foreign troops to help protect them from their own people. Because, of course, they're going to be putting through kind of more of what they're doing now, but on a 10 times the scale, to the point where they really, truly have an uprising of some sort. I get what you're saying.
Yep.
Okay, so now what is your theory on Elon?
So Starlink, in my opinion, obviously, great thing, free internet for everyone, to go to market it and sell to everyone. But the issue with Starlink is it will also be able to track everyone. If you can send a signal to something, you can tell where the thing is that's picking that signal up. And if you've got a phone in your pocket, that will tell you where they are. And if they do things further down the road where they perhaps use a certain implant or a certain way of tracking people, they could then potentially use that to say, oh, look, there's that person that shouldn't be there. There's that person that shouldn't be there. And they got you. And then if you look at that on a wider scale, to process billions of people all over the world, you're going to need a lot of power, a lot of processing power. Now, if we go back in time to the 60s, the algorithm for Bitcoin was purchased by a Swiss company and purchased by the NSA in the 60s. So that company just happened to be one of 120 companies at the time that the CIA owned. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. The people who do things. And they sold that algorithm, and then they used that algorithm in a 1996 paper called the E-Dollar, I believe it was called, released by the NSA, and that was a precursor to Bitcoin. Now, the problem in the 1996 paper was the double spend problem. I send you a Bitcoin, the system couldn't catch up quick enough on the fact that I was sending you a Bitcoin. So I could send you 2 Bitcoins really quickly, and I get double the money. Now, they fixed that in the 2008 paper, supposedly written by Satoshi. Now, the issue is, nobody knows who Satoshi is. The paper is nearly almost identical to the 1996 NSA paper. Now, everybody says, oh, but Bitcoin's secure. It's open source. Okay, it's a 256-bit hash encryption. How come the FBI can get into iPhones? It's the same encryption. Now, does that mean there's a back door? Even if it's open source, there could still be a back door. They could just brute force crack it because they can get into iPhones. So what happens? They have a Starlink system that requires a lot of power. Everyone in the world who's mining Bitcoin provides a lot of power. Could they tap into that power and use it to control the AI which would run the Starlink system, which would then track everyone? And another thing on the back of that, the financial side, is if Bitcoin reaches a certain level, say 10 million a coin, they could suddenly go, oh, look, these 2 million Bitcoin that went missing over the period of the years, we suddenly discovered them, swamp the market, and then kill Bitcoin. So anyone who's gone a different route with the financial system are suddenly left with nothing. Now, obviously, the whole idea of them finding out these missing Bitcoin and crashing the system is possible, but also it might not be. But the thing that concerns me is there's a possible way of an artificial intelligence of some sort created, possibly, a lot of possibilities here, by the NSA, could be out there, and they're actually using the carrot of money to help people, to get people to process all of this information. Now, obviously, Starlink's not up yet, and this is just a theory, but there's other theories out there that say Bitcoin is actual artificial intelligence, and in order to bring it forth, it needs a lot of power, and the motivation of that is money.
Okay.
Now,
well,
looking at finances, because I know that you're big on. Sorry, I keep talking.
Well, no. I just want to ask you a question on what you said. So, as far as the Bitcoin, I always had kind of my doubts about it because, and Dex, my partner here, he's all about Bitcoin, and at least he knows a lot about it and was into it when it first got big, and he understands it, and he actually thinks it's the thing. And I said, well, we didn't know who made it. When somebody told me in 2013, when it was $30 a piece or whatever, and this guy was telling me, he goes, hey, nobody knows who made it. It might be this guy Satoshi. Basically, we don't know who it is. And I said, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. And I even had a bonus at work that I was just given. It was a Christmas bonus, or it was basically an extra bonus from something that we had. And I had extra money in my pocket, and I could have bought them. And I've regretted it, of course, like anybody else that could have got Bitcoin at $30. But when I heard that, I said, this is the craziest thing ever. So why is the U.S. Government trying to get into crypto? Why is China trying to get into crypto? Why are these things all getting into crypto? It seems to me like if everything was Bitcoin and everything was crypto, and again, I know I'm going to piss off a lot of crypto people, but that's digitizing all of our stuff. That's kind of one of their goals, is to get us off of cash, which you can see right now, all of the stores cutting cash out of the question, cutting change out of the question. They want you to use your card. They want everything digital. They want to do the Banking for All Act, where they essentially they make sure that every single person has a bank account. And we just read that the B administration has put it in a new thing where if you ever reach $600 on a bank account, that it would IRS would let them know about any withdrawals. A lot of people thought it was $600 or more. It's any withdrawals. Once your bank account hits 600, it's then tracked. Any withdrawals would then information would be going to the IRS. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, do you think that this is secretly a bad thing?
Completely. I think it's like when anyone takes over anything. In 1066, the Normans invaded England. The first thing they did is count every house, every person, every farm. If everything goes to their plan, they could potentially want to take stock of everything and everyone. Because once you know what you've got, you know what you need to control. Now, Starlink help with that. And the way that blockchain works, it's immutable and it's open and anyone can see it. There was even talk of the privacy coins being cracked. Now, when you look at the whole financial system, that it's another way of tracking you, and because they don't want you having to things that would sustain you for a long period of time because they need a dependence. With dependency becomes agreeance. Agreeance, is that a word? When you agree to things, you know?
Absolutely. It's one of the eight steps to the C word, monism.
Yes, indeed. And if we look at the planning of this, I think we've been in WW3 for the last 10 years because the data hacks. Because I used to work. How can I say this? I used to work in finance, and my job was to find people. I wasn't a knock on your door, you've got a loan to pay. I would find people, and the data hacks 10 years ago were from a certain country. Prior to that, in the late 90s, I was informed of the same information that Snowden let out in 2014. I even had a joke email saying, send an email with all these words on it and you'll send the NSA mad. And that was in the late 90s. This has been going on a lot longer, and it's not going to work, I don't think, because there's too many people that have had enough. And fair enough, they're clamping down because they're a rat in a corner and they have no real way of getting out of it. So they're trying their best to bring everything in as quick as possible. But all it's doing is making people aware. And it's not going to work. If we look at the financial side of things, 2018, a certain family who are big in banking, I don't know whether I could state the name or not, they're German and they're massive in banking, sold all of their hard assets to one of their executives.
They did a fire sale.
That's called, yes, they did a fire sale in 2018, that was. Coming a bit closer in time, September 2019, the overnight banking interlending system failed. The Fed started pumping 12 billion in every month to the intra-bank lending system, September 2019. March 2020, the world was at the same state of depression as the Great Depression at the beginning of the 20th century. So when they say, oh, everything, it's not. It is literally, we were at the same stage as the Great Depression in 2020. And it's just got worse. Because when you look at the Fed books, they say, oh, we're 5 trillion, 10 trillion or so in debt. That's on the books debt. You've got banks lend each other money when they don't need to have any capital. So say I'm bank one, you're bank two, and I say, give me $50 billion. You give me $50 billion. And I go, there you go. There's your $50 billion back with 0.1 interest. And then the night after you ask me, give me $100 billion. Okay, there's $100 billion. And they can do that endlessly. They don't have to have any capital. Before 2020, they had to have at least 10% of the intrabank lending system as hard capital. There was a legislation passed. They don't have to have anything anymore. The amount of money is in the hundreds of trillions, not 5 to 10 trillion. It's hundreds of trillions. And it's quite possibly the biggest mess they've ever made, ever. It's bigger than the fall of Rome. And also, I don't think Rome ever fell. It changed into the Templars, the brick builders, then the nasty folks in World War II, then they became NASA, then we're here. And it's too much too quickly, and it's not going to work.
Wow. Okay, well...
that's one of the Rothschilds' houses, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the hunting estate that was up for fire sale, and there was a lot more. And I said back then, that was at the very beginning of my channel, and I said, why are they getting all of their cash? Why are they getting rid of everything? And this wasn't the only thing. Every branch of the family was liquefying everything and getting every part of the money that they could. So again,
yes.
Real crazy. I loved it, Jim. We're out of time, but I would love to have you back on. I would love to have you call in again. Please don't be a stranger.
Yes, sir.
You said it says Central America. Are you?
I will.
Are you from?
It's nice talking to you.
Are you Central America? Or are you UK or? There's a bit of a delay.
I was born in the UK. But I'm no longer there. I haven't been there for a long time. I'm in Central America now.
That's perfect. That's all.
Because it's slightly freer than Europe.
Well, when you see Central America, because we always put a general area, I was surprised that you sounded the way you did. So. Anyways, Thank you so much for being on, Jim, and please give us a call back. I'd love to talk to you again. I'm sure others would like to hear you as well.
Yes, I'm more than happy. Dex has got my number. If you ever want me to pop on, let me know, and I'll see if I'm available. All
right. Well, thank you so much. Jim, you have a great night. Be safe. Be prepared. And Marf out. That was Jim. Quite a delay. I could tell he's in Central America. It was waiting a minute. It was like, yes, Jim, we're out here. Yes. All right, cool. This was the estate. If you go back to that, lots of so much crazy stuff back in 2018. The false missile alert was at the end of 2017, I believe. 2018 was the very end of that year. There was so much. Just so much. The false tsunami alerts. I mean, it was like they were testing all of the emergency alert systems and then saying it wasn't a test. And then Japan had a false missile alert. These are all false missile alerts, but yet never had one ever. And then we had 2 alerts where it was sent out to all cell phones. At the very, it very well could have been a hack by a group, and then it could have been covered up. Like, maybe they didn't want to admit that these crucial systems got hacked. So they made up these, crazy things. But people saw stuff in Hawaii. They at least saw a flash. So, at least that's what people say. So, was there something that went off in the water near there? What was the actual deal with that? I know that Maui Racing Realtor, he lives on Maui. He said that nothing of the sort happened. You have contradicting views on that whole thing. But back then, that was around the same time as this, and it was just, there was so much weird. And now, look at what's happened. We were saying back then that it seemed like there was some major stuff in the planning. And a reset, if you were going to reset currency, you would think that some of the families that are literally above everyone else, you would think that they would do something like this because they need to move their money around. And now we are where we are. Great caller. Thank you, Jim. Stephen McMahon says, Adam, you look like a kid with the baseball cap. Told you. They were going to get triggered. Yes. It's so funny. I just love that when I see, anytime I ever wear a hat, people like That was a nice comment. But people have, it's stupid. Don't wear hats anymore. It's just stupid. Maybe it's just because they're so used to seeing somebody, and then when they see them with the hat, they're like, I don't like hats. I don't know what the big deal about the hats is. But I'm almost 40, so if I look like a kid, I'm kind of happy with that. China tests oil clout, battles inflation with first oil reserve auction. Dex, do you want to pop in on this? I know we've talked about this before. We talked about some of the different things going on with the oil market in general.
Well, yeah, this is kind of a big deal. It's one of their first auctions, and they're taking some of their own reserves and selling it off. So, again, we've talked about how China is stepping up to try to be a big powerhouse, and this is one of those steps. It's a big step, and it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. And it'll also be interesting to see how it plays, at least from their position in the global economy for oil. And, we know that there's been a push to get away from the dollar, at least from both Russia and China. So to what extent does this help them start to drive demand, away into something else?
Strange scenario here. It says, sorry. It says, out of Singapore, China's first crude oil reserve auction could have an outsized impact on market sentiment, signaling the top oil importer remains committed to remaining the inflation by controlling commodity prices, analysts and trading executives said. The initial sale from its Strategic Petroleum Reserves, or the SPR, will be small, about 7.38 million barrels, or about half a day's usage in China. Half a day's usage, 7.38 million barrels. Barely registering in a global market that consumes nearly 100 million barrels a day. That's incredible. Barrels. Boom. It says, even so, it demonstrates Beijing is prepared to sell off stockpiles that have previously been considered off limits. And that is intended to become more active in domestic oil markets whenever high prices threaten to undermine the economy. It says, with that kind of market power China has, the release has huge symbolic significance as the first SPR public sale. As just about 3 years ago, the debate was still about how China's SPR functions and how it will be regulated, said Michael Maiden, of course, director of China at the Oxford Institute of Energy Studies. It says China, the world's second largest oil refiner and a major consumer of most other commodities, has also held sales from the strategic reserves of metals, coals, and corn to help tame factory inflation that hit a 13-year high in August. So it says, quote, I see it very much a test, both in terms of internal mechanism and the impact on the market for containing inflation and learning how to use the SPR like the U.S. does. Something about this just doesn't sit right with me. How do you guys feel about that?
Ultimately, it's if it was just your personal money, you would want to buy oil when it's cheap and you want to sell it when it's high. So these reserves, like the U.S., and we've heard our previous administration say, man, oil was so cheap, it was crazy. I was just buying it up and we were gobbling it up and filling up our own reserves, which, it wasn't just to fill up the reserves for a rainy day. It's for a day when the oil prices are much higher, and then you can sell them and make money, or use that capital for something else. So if this is something that they're now doing, it looks like they've done it with other commodities, but as oil is obviously the big stick, so to speak, in the world economy, it's going to be interesting to see how they start to play in this game.
Well, we'll see what they're doing with it. Stephen McMahon, thanks again for your support. Art of a Misfit says, thank you both for your hard work and very accurate information. Hey, we appreciate that. Thank you so much. Ria, thank you for your super chat there. Thank you for supporting independent media. Barefoot Lass says, our mods rock. Yes, they do. Make sure to press M in that chat for the mods both on D Live and on YouTube. Thank you, Vault11. It says, hello all, just passing it forward. Thank you. And Vault, thanks for popping in. Let's see. You look like Ness, ready to travel to the North Pole. That is awesome. If you don't know who Ness is, then you are not in the Cool Kids Club. Pearl, hi Marf, Dex, and Mods. What is going on? Mr. Mo says, hello, Foogle family. End Times, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate that. I believe you went live the other night. I hope it went well. Angela 1609, Mom Bat. We've got Amy D. We've got a bunch of new followers. Thank you, everybody that just joined. My Thinky Pancake. Thank you for following. And then I love my Foogle gang, says Carolina Roots. We've got Vault again. Thank you. Meme Man 1984 again. Thank you. Jaybird, Mary XX, and then Chewy Weather. Appreciate all of you over there. And then I did miss at least one person there, so I do appreciate Pinocchio Nose, TNF Fly Girl, Jesse S. Thank you guys for being there yesterday for us. And I think I missed one other. Hodgepodge, Peace, Love, and Jesus, and Less Provoked. I love that. That's awesome. Gerardo Kohatomek, thank you so much for the super sticker. Appreciate that. Let's see here. We've got Delaware Sasquatch says a lieutenant colonel gets sacked for speaking out about accountability, and Slick Millie is raved as a hero for colluding with the CCP. Are we in an alternate universe? It definitely feels like it, does it not? It's called the conservative zone. James Fox, thanks again for supporting us tonight. I want to say that's 2 nights in a row. James Fox, thank you. Ace Maduro, you should wear a tinfoil hat. That would really freak people out. LOL. Sparky's Run, Anna McLean, thank you so much. The greatest show on YouTube, God bless, says Greg Anzalotti. Well, thank you for that, and thank you as well for the blessing there. Lisa Marie S., Dusty Dust, says, which states has the most streets? Rhode Island. Dusty Dust, that was a dad joke, and I loved it. Thank you. No Drama Mama, thank you for your super sticker. Western Body, thanks Marf. Ever considered a beanie? Nah, just Tim Pool's got that on lock. I can't touch that. Can't touch this. Greg Bryson, thank you, and thank you for your support tonight. See a lot of hat comments.
Go for the hoodie.
The hoodie. I'm not trying to rob people. Then they'll be like, oh, tattooing a hoodie, what are you doing?
Hey, you'll be really young then.
Yes. Then never mind. I have a dad joke and I'm not going to do it. NK launches 2 ballistic missiles as fear grow over nuclear capability. So my wife actually saw this before I did, about 2 minutes after it happened, and we were posting it on Twitter and watching as they made the official statement, and essentially they said that, that it wasn't something that they were super freaked out about, or at least that's what they told the public. It landed, I believe, before Japan. The thing is after a few years ago, when T-Man was president, we had all those exhibits of this, where Japan actually had tons of videos of when their alert went off. Their missile alerts. They even had a missile alert that said, missile from NK is heading this way, blah, 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 like creepy stuff. Whatever that audio said, it was in Japanese. It was very spooky. If you did hear that, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's their system over there is really weird. It's got like a boop, beep, beep, the whole town, the whole city could hear it. It's a sound I never want to hear. It wasn't exactly one of those. It was more of a beep, boop, beep missile coming from NK. It's like, oh, Dex, would you ever want to hear that?
No, that doesn't sound like anything I'd want to hear. I get the tornado sirens, and that's enough for me.
Well, right now, Mike, my first cousin is in South Korea, so I'm sure her mom, my aunt, is not feeling too great about that there for school. So it says NK launches 2 ballistic missiles as fears grow over the nuclear capability. The launch came after NK said it successfully tested a new long-range cruise missile last weekend, calling it a strategic weapon of great significance. Now, specifically there, they say a strategic weapon of great significance. We have talked about how the EMP task force actually they have evidence that says that they have not only done these tests, but were going for a very specific nuclear kind of weapon, and that was an EMP. We knew this much before a lot of the public came out about it and about the documents that, of course, the EMP task force has. Their reports are saying that all of those low-yield ones that we were calling a failure back in the day, as far back as, like, I want to say 2006 or 2008, where we thought it was a failure, those were actually indeed successes because the EMP style, which they would actually do more damage. If we have all of our grid go down, 90% of us could perish, right? Or they said would. Those low yield ones we thought were failures and they just couldn't get enough power. Those were on purpose, or at least that's what the task force is saying. So what kind of strategic arena are they in right now? It says NK fired not 1, but 2 ballistic missiles, South Korea's military said on Wednesday amid fears over the state's nuclear capabilities. Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga called the ballistic missile launch, quote, outrageous, and strongly condemned the action as a threat to peace and security of the region. Japan's Coast Guard said that the projectile appeared to have landed outside the country's exclusive economic zone. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said in a statement that they and U.S. intelligence authorities were analyzing more details about the launches. I do want to point out, I'm going to pull this up from Twitter. Let's go over to my Twitter real quick. There was a Foogle fam member, a woman, who got a text from Alaska from her nephew, I believe. So let's see if I can find this here. It's probably in the last. Again, try to follow over at Marfoogle. I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. She sent a picture of what he had sent her. It was a text message including, check this out. It says outside my living room window. Now, I posted for a brief second. I thought she actually, I believe, misunderstood. She sent it the second she got it and said I think she said it was China, or I thought maybe I misunderstood. But if you look at the picture, it is actually a Japanese flag. And so we confirmed that this is a Japanese ship that was offshore, docked offshore for 4 days off of our Alaska coastline, within feet of our coastline. So this is at the same time that China actually came to the Aleutian Islands and had 4 warships. They had 1. Japan was up in our Alaska on our coast. Why was it there? I don't know. But then, right around the same time that NK launches, this thing disappears. It says, outside my living room window, just left today, was anchored offshore for 4 days. That was at 8:31 p.m. last night. It says Japan warship. So what a trip that is. And apparently he works on the water. He's right there in the midst of it, and he does something with the port or something like that. I didn't get his exact position, but that was, again, right there. So he could see that from his living room window. A Japan warship. That's a lot better than, say, seeing a Chinese warship, but at the same time, where did it go? Was it in a hurry? Was it sent to respond to NK? I mean, think about it. The same day, NK launches missiles, and then, of course, it's probably a few days away, or I don't know how far that is from their waters, but they have 2 missiles supposedly land in and off their waters. So I could probably take a guess on where that ship got deployed to next, but who knows? And then, what do you think about this? Let me know in the comments below. And then South Korea unveils 4 new missiles via tests after NK launches. It says, quote, a high-power ballistic missile and supersonic cruise missile are among the new developments revealed in the latest round of Korean saber-rattling. And this is, of course, the other Korea. The better Korea, right? Or that's what they call it. It says South Korea has followed up last week's report of test of NK land attack cruise missile by announcing a raft of new weapons of its own, including what it describes as a high-power ballistic missile able to carry a heavier warhead than previous weapons. Also revealed today that it was a supersonic anti-ship cruise missile, which has also been successfully tested and which apparently features a ramjet propulsion system, which I believe ramjet is like it's got the jets in the wings or something like that. I only know because of a transformer named Ramjet. Propulsion system, there were just part of a flurry of new details of South Korea missile developments, also including a new air-launched long-range cruise missile, while Seoul previously disclosed submarine-launched ballistic missiles, or SLBMs, is now reported to have been completed a full launch sequence. So we have a lot more countries now with the supposed ability to do SLBMs, basically these submarine-launched ballistic missiles, and with hypersonics or supersonic. I think that this is supersonic, not hypersonic, so not as fast. And then, of course, air-launched, so dropping from a plane. We showed you that technology as far as that is actually how some of the supersonic or hypersonic missiles are launched, is from another plane. They go up to a high altitude and then drop it and drop it and plop it. And let's see here. Oh, and perfect comment right now. Stephen McMahon, thank you for your support, and says, the iCountry, I ran to the store, says is supposed to be only 2 months away from nukes. If that is true, the conflict will start even sooner than we all thought. I don't know if that's, I don't know what will happen between there and then. Who knows? Maybe they'll take those out with drones. Rusty88, thank you for your support. And then, oh no. This is my screen name. Shannon, Foogle fam and friend, says BOD is in the hospital. Maybe MS. Can't walk. Please pray. A call from Adam would mean the world tour. Done. Shannon, Dex, if we can line up Shan's number, I am praying for you. If we can all, BOD was BOD and Shan and his wife, they were in the California group. I actually met a lot of Foogle family members when we had our Discord. We had groups all over the country that would meet in person. They were one of the most active groups. They would meet in groups anywhere from 10 to 20. They would go out to dinners. They would talk and just talk about the issues. They did some organizing of those. I met a lot of people through these Zoom calls and through this, and we ended up like hanging out. Their California group was one of the groups I ended up spending the most time with. And Shan and his wife, Shan is the one who would call in and do the impressions of Darth Vader. He is super funny. He's always cracking jokes. They're like the funniest couple ever, and they're super preppers. Like they have everything from police radios to all sorts of stuff. So if you guys can, please pray for BOD. Again, BOD. And I'm hoping that that's not the case. But in a way, my aunt actually was diagnosed recently, or more, about a year and a half ago. And she has been handling it very well. So things can turn around and things can get better. I know that it was really bad for a while, and then they have new treatments. So I hope everything goes well. Really love you guys. Out of all the people, again, and then we have Florida Patriot 71, again, praying for her as well. Just, yeah, really hurts to hear that kind of stuff. So we're going to talk about Kim Jong-un's sister here in just a second. But first, let's grab the caller. The next caller is going to be Dana. By the way, Dex, I saw the note. If possible, we could. No. No. Yeah. No, that's okay. Let's get on Dana. And let's see here. Was in Storm Nicholas traveling in Beaumont, Texas. Dana, you're live on Marfoogle News. What is happening?
Hey, what's up, Marf? Wow, that was so much to digest in the last hour. I've been listening, especially the gentleman with the accent. I think, where was he from Britain?
UK born. So you from Europe, but now lives.
He was UK.
Yeah,
he was from UK, right? I mean,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, he had so much to say. So he blew my mind because I was listening to what he was saying, and what I originally called in for was I'm from Reno, Nevada, and I went to visit a friend of mine who was having some troubles in Texas, and I ended up being in the middle of Hurricane Nicholas, which was what the hell, right? So we got over that, and it didn't hit us very well. It didn't hit us really hard, but wow. So I got to meet a gentleman at a David Icke show with Foster Gamble, and that gentleman that called in earlier, I was listening to him, and it really hit home with a lot of things that I've been thinking about, and he's right on the money on so many different topics. What do you think?
If you're talking about the caller, either way, I probably could listen to him all day anyways. The guy sounds like he could do narration for movies. But yeah, no, there's stuff that I've thought about for 2 years, and I haven't even thought about, like the fire sale and all that kind of stuff, and to bring that into current times, that was pretty cool. Yeah, he had a lot to bring to the table, and it just blew my mind. Oh no, it blew my mind. I was so overtaken by it, but I was on hold for a minute, so I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm from Reno, so I went from fire to water in just a short period of time, just to visit a friend of mine, and our planet is changing in such an amazing way, and if you don't know what is truly going on, and I love your show because you really touch on what's going on, and you speak about the truth. I am a truth seeker. I love like John Moore and Mike Adams and David Icke, so many different individuals who really teach truth. And of course, your channel is one of those on the top tier for me. Thank you.
I just love that about you. And I think we are on the precipice of a conscious evolutionary change. That's kind of where I'm at with all of this. And I really enjoyed that individual who called from the UK, I think it was. And he just was right on the money with what was going on, like just down to the T. Oh my gosh. And I sat through a 12-hour seminar with a David Icke show, and it just blew my mind. Like I was not even ready for that. And it just I was invited to a recent podcast with Foster Gamble and David Icke on the 9/11 truth and everything that's going on. And so I sat through it. So I was sitting waiting for my flight to go from Tulsa to Houston, and I just happened to be going to these places that are so red state, and I'm in a state that's not compliant, that's not they don't want to know the truth. They don't know what's really going on. They are so brainwashed. Like, I work for Cabela's and I work for Sprouts Farmers Market, and they're brainwashed. They don't know what's true. They don't know what's really going on. In my opinion, obviously, everyone has their own opinion, but what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling and knowing from my research from like John Moore, the Liberty Man, and I really love what he has to say, and what you have to say. There's so many truths that are being denied through our technological, what's the word? Our world. Our world is not telling us the truth, and that pisses me off to no demeanor. I mean, Adam, what are we gonna do? I mean, I love all the guests you have on. I love what you're doing. I love the fact that you are providing truth to the people. And that is what we need right now, because truth is where we need to go. Truth is truth, whether or not you like me. We are living in the age of Pisces. No, that's a silly phrase. But
yeah,
anyway.
no, instead of Aquarius, Pisces. So
I'm Aquarius. Yes.
I'm glad that now, as opposed to before, you couldn't listen to the show. Now you can actually listen to the show while you're on hold. I'm glad you heard him again when he started talking about how he possibly knocked on some doors or didn't knock on some doors for finances. I was thinking of like lock, stock, and two smoking barrels, and having the guy go find some money, right, or find the client's money, right? The guy sounds like a badass,
yeah.
but yeah. So, is there one more thing you want to say before you go? I know that you did have one more point there to go over.
So I'm from Reno, and I decided to visit a friend of mine in Beaumont, Texas. And so I touched down 2 days before the hurricane, but it missed us. So yay. So yeah, prayer works.
Well, yeah, I'm super glad that you're okay and that you didn't get damaged or hurt, or anybody else in your group did. Well, I appreciate you calling tonight. Nope. And again, is this your first time call? I don't think. Is this? Yeah.
No, I've called it.
Okay.
I've actually called before. I did a rap song for you a while ago.
I would
love
remember.
to do one hip hop, but yeah, spoken word.
Well, I would love for you to call back again. I would love that.
And I found your channel through Jacob Israel, which I found Jacob Israel's channel through, as bizarre as this is. And he didn't even believe me. And I was like, no, this is really true, because I went to a David Icke show, and then I went on his channel, and then he had a thing where I searched through, and then he was actually a fan of Jacob Israel. I just think that's so cool.
I believe it. Jacob Israel knows all the big people. I talked to Jacob Israel. He called me today, and I missed his call.
Bizarre. I just think it's so bizarre. Yeah. So bizarre.
I really appreciate Jacob.
God bless you, and thank you for all you do. You know what? We got this. do not take the shot.
Oh,
Jab,
goodness gracious.
stab, whatever you want to say. I shouldn't say that out loud.
Yeah, you shouldn't have.
Yeah, no.
And so
God bless.
if you want me to continue to have a show, then yes. That and David's name 6 times doesn't help either. But you know that, Dana. Yes. Thank you so much.
Sorry.
All right, thank you so much. All right, scabba dabba labba day. Dabba yabba dabba.
Jabba labba.
Yabba dabba dabba.
Gabba
Babba dabba. Babba dib.
John Moore. Yeah.
Oh, if she said his name one more time, we might be banned from Australia. Thank you, Dana. Loved your rap song last time, or I think it was a rap song. It was a spoken. I don't know if it was spoken word last time, or I think it was a rap song. But again, just to make sure you know, nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. Thanks, because we like to stick around. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect opinions of Marfoogle. There's a reason for this. That is why we still here, y'all. And before we move on, I do want to remind you guys right now, on top of any sale that EMP Shield is running, if you do want to truly protect yourself against an EMP attack or a Carrington level event like a solar flare or CME, there's really one company that you should be going to, the same one that DHS, DOD is going to. Again, we were actually with these guys before they had all these massive contracts. So again, these guys are helping the DEMSO team, helping protect the Texas grid, the DHS, DOD, again, all of those big guys. So prepare the same way that they are, again, mostly secretly, with EMP Shield. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. Not only will you get $50 off per device, but you will also be able to stack that on top of any sale they're doing. This is a professional and real way to actually protect either your car, your house, your generator, your solar system, your RVs, your motorcycles, pretty much anything with a motor or anything that you want to keep going. This is what you should be doing. This is Keystone tested, military tested, 100% American made, veteran owned business, and it will also protect your house against lightning. I do want to apologize to somebody, though. There was a guy named Pale Horse. He suggested a secondary product. He was very nice, and I did take the way that he took something, and on the other day's show, I believe I was rude. And I did make a mistake, and I did run into him in chat, and immediately he was pretty much a jerk. But you know what? He was a jerk because I was a jerk, and maybe it was a miscommunication. I basically thought that he was trying to sell me on a different product when really he was just trying to add to a suggestion. I am not perfect. I make mistakes. I make bad judgment calls. And I think that he was acting like anybody would be acting because in his eyes, he said something publicly. I didn't actually say his name when I first said something, but he knows, and from his view, he said that where other people saw him say that. So of course he's going to go, all these people know he's talking about me. Now I look singled out like I'm a jerk or like I'm this or that. And I apologize because after looking back, I do think that he was not trying to be any of that. And I think that he was actually a nice guy that was trying to help. And his actions afterwards are basically, if he was singled out and he's defensive, he's going to be a jerk to me. It's kind of like the kick the cat thing. Somebody else is kicking you down. I kicked him for no reason, I guess. And then he ended up kicking me back for no reason. If you don't know kick the cat, it's a Zig Ziglar thing, but basically there was no reason for it. So I do, that does matter to me, because if I do that kind of thing and I'm wrong, I want to make sure that I do correct that. So he was saying all sorts of stuff, but yeah, I get it. Because if somebody treated me bad, every human being does that when they get singled out or they get called out in public. It's embarrassing, and then it makes you feel like crap, and then you go on the offensive, and that's understandable. When he shouldn't have been on the defensive because he shouldn't have had anything said in the first place. So So yeah, I apologize. I made a mistake. I'm human. I make mistakes. That's all I got to say. So, again, thank you everybody that has supported us up until now, everybody that supports us in the future. We, again, don't have any back besides you guys. This is how the ecosystem works. Definitely doesn't work through the big daddy alphabets. Kim Jong-un's sister warns of destruction of South Korean ties. It says the powerful sister of NK's leader has criticized SK President Moon Jae-in and threatened, quote, a complete destruction of relations hours after Moon said South Korea's growing missile capabilities will serve as a sure deterrence against NK provocations. Moon made the comments after South Korea's first successful test of a submarine-launched ballistic missile, what we talked about with the SLBMs. I don't know what they mean by pure destruction, or, I'm sorry, I think it's... No, I put both of those together. Complete destruction of relations. Dex, do you think that they were basically saying, like, that was their tongue-in-cheek way to say, like, we'll completely destroy you?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a sure deterrence. It's a complete destruction, right? It's
back and forth.
They're definitely, and this is, the sister, right? So
yeah, this is I forget her name.
Different tone.
Yeah. So, and by the way, Kim Jong-un is if you weren't here for this. If you don't know, Dennis Rodman, the famous basketball player that used to have the colored hair, he was really good friends with Kim Jong-un. And he would get invited out there for parties. He would party with Kim Jong-un. They made fun of it in several movies. I believe they made fun of it in cartoons even. He was a friend. They would bring him out there, and he would, for whatever reason, Kim Jong-un was obsessed with Rodman because Rodman was the bad boy and like the NBA cowboy or whatever. I don't know. Kim Jong-un had some weird stuff for Rodman. He would bring Rodman out and they would party together and probably do everything under the sun together for whatever reason. I believe that. And then they asked Rodman after Kim Jong-un had this accident where they said that he might have had a brain surgery that went wrong, that he might have died, that he might have had a heart attack, a seizure, or a stroke, or something that would debilitate him. His health went severely downhill. There was talk for a whole day that he was dead, and then boom, they came back and they were like, oh, he's not, he's fine. They asked Rodman. Rodman said, I can't really comment because of my relationship with Kim Jong-un, but if the sister starts talking publicly, that's pretty much a sign that, something happened or something's wrong. Within 3 weeks, it was almost exactly 21 days after, all of a sudden the sister started talking all over the place. The sister was the mouthpiece. Kim Jong has been at events, but they've spotted multiple differences. He's had a spot on his neck, bruises. He's lost weight. So is he dealing with a cancer? Is he dealing with something else? Is he weak? Is he, drooged up? What is actually happening with him? They say that there's current videos of him that somehow something in the background proves it's recent, but I don't know. I still haven't, unless he makes a comment about something, but all of that can be faked. All world leaders, including the crappy third world communist, whatever countries, they all have doubles. They have professional doubles. That's their entire job. They get sent to things that are dangerous, and their job is to look like the person that's there. Our president has several. All of our presidents have had several, going back as far as you can, as far as you can see. Same with other presidents of other prime ministers. I heard that just the other day, I heard Trudeau has like four Trudeau lookalikes. I guess it's pretty easy to look like a plain white guy. But yeah. So is it a double? Is it really him? Why is his sister so active in a culture that really looks down upon women in general? They don't respect a woman in charge. So maybe is that why they're telling their people? Because, I mean, gosh, they told their people that Kim Jong doesn't use the bathroom. He's a god. He in their eyes, this is the propaganda they tell their people, supposedly, right? They say, hey, he's a god. He doesn't even have bathroom functions because he's above everyone. It's not his poo doesn't stink. His poo doesn't exist. Do you understand? So for her to be speaking like this is just really weird. And then, of course, Taiwan jets land on highway for Chinese invasion war game. I don't know how anybody can look at this and not see what the heck is like. This is... How clear could this, be getting? Like the first caller, Jim, it's like, it doesn't matter if this is all put together or whatever. It's going to make money. It's going to be a huge way to just take the whole structure of everything. A WW3 will restructure the world, just as both of the previous ones did. And when the dust settles, I guarantee you might have different people that are in charge of different areas. It says fighter jets practiced landing on a highway in southern Taiwan on Wednesday as a part of an annual live fire military exercise that simulates defending the island against an invasion by China. It says Democratic Taiwan lives under constant threat of invasion by Beijing, which claims the island as part of its territory and has vowed to one day seize it by force if necessary. Remember, China has turned all of their civilian vehicles, even their ferries, they have made them from the get-go, from the factory. These ferries were told by law they have to make it to where they turn into drop ships because they are preparing for a future conflict. They said, we know that we've got so many troops and we're going in the next world they're not preparing for a proxy conflict, right? They're not preparing for a little 20,000 troop thing. They're preparing for millions of troops. There's no doubt about it. There's no option. If they do go to conflict, they go to conflict with 1 million troops, more than 1 million troops. So with that, they have to have transportation. They're doing everything. They're lining everything up. They're getting rid of capitalism. They're cutting the Western world out. They won't even let people talk outside the country in a lot of cases. They are taking away people's capitalism, so their right to make money. This is projected. And they're cutting out these billionaire companies. They're going to take this. They're already planning to use their semiconductor. They're already planning like they own it already. And now they're drilling, doing the same thing we did. It was the first time in the U.S. that we were landing A-10 Warthogs on U.S. highways. It was a freaky thing. We even had a caller that had video from the side of the street. He went there and videotaped it and said it was just trippy. Military planes landing on little U.S. highways. The only reason for that is if you, of course, have to do that because your bases are destroyed. They're doing it as well. They have an annual exercise, live fire, that they're preparing for this. I don't think they've ever done it. I don't think this is something that they've done before. But ours says it's the first time. This doesn't. I don't know. It says on Wednesday morning, various Taiwanese fighter jets, as well as an early warning aircraft, practiced taking off and landing in a provincial highway in Pingtung County. The drill, which was watched by President Tsai Ing-wen, is supposed to hone Taiwanese pilot skills if the island's airstrips were wiped out. I mean, this is clearly, people actually doubted and commented. They're like, no, they're probably doing it for just practice on how to fly. Oh, they wouldn't do that if the things were wiped out. I'm like, it's in writing. That's why you would do a drill like that, is if your bases and airstrips were wiped out, if they were bombed. This is what you would do. This is the backup plan. This is plan B. They're already on plan B right now. It says such excellent combat skills, precise and swift movements come from rigorous training and demonstrate the Air Force's confidence to protect our airspace, Tsai said in a post on her Facebook. It says part of the annual Han Kuang military exercises. Wednesday drill took place on one of 5 highways that can have been deliberately built with long sections that can accommodate planes landing. An invasion of Taiwan would be a hugely costly and difficult endeavor, but Beijing has increasingly closed the military gap in recent years, and Xi has made no secret of his desire to see the island taken. It's like a principle to him. He's like, no, I'm taking that damn thing. Senior U.S. generals have publicly warned that China could potentially carry off an invasion, and the defense of Taiwan has become a rare bipartisan issue in Washington. Last year, Chinese jets and boomers made a record 380 incursions into Taiwan's Air Defense Identification Zone, or ADIZ. It says the number of incursions for the first 8 months of this year has already exceeded 400. So last year, 380. Already this year, first 8 months was 400. So what do you think about this? I'd love to hear your opinions on this. I would love to see what you guys are thinking. Cynthia Lynn, what are you doing? What in the world? Cynthia Lynn just dropped into D-Live and did a ninjet, the highest compliment you can bestow on a D-Liver, and she did it like it was nothing. Says, all eyes on the audits. Just a reminder, love the Foogle fam. Keep up the fantastic work you do, Adam and Dex, and the supporting Mrs. Marf and Mrs. Dex. Cynthia Lynn, thank you. You just put yourself in the one spot in 1 second. Thank you. The Ravenous Drifter says, great content. Thank you, Ravenous. I really appreciate that. And thank you guys for seeing the value in it. And then Vault, again, thank you. Battleborn 111, Angela 1609. We've got Bearclaw, Stone Fanatic, Scooby-Doo Right, Pisces, I Copper Bee, Crop Duster, that's a good one. Big Sexy and On, What's Her Name 45, I Love Jesus Forever, General Poon. Wow, the names couldn't be more opposite right tonight. Venus L and WJS Jen. Thank you, everybody that has popped in tonight. Unbelievable. Thank you, Cynthia Lynn. And thank you for gifting a 1-month subscription to Duster. I appreciate that. Jay Mills, what is going on? Welcome to the Foogle fam. As always, if you subscribe during the show, you will get a shout out. Greifel, Big Sexy Wagon. Is that what it was? Terry Williams, Cuddlefish, James Cup, thank you, says, and walked in. Renegade, PD McSteelsy, John Eruptor. Let's see here. Claire Paseric is here. We've got Mick G's. We've got Venus, Tony Draper, Mark L. Randy Newman, says Fleetwood Marf, thank you. Jordan Bear, and I Copper B. All right, and then let's head over to Dex. Dex, can we go over the web-only content here?
Absolutely, Adam. So, folks, head over to marfooglenews.com and click on the thumbnail for the show. Scroll down to web-only content. As we mentioned earlier, there's a lot of Millie conversations going on there, but there's even some other interesting things. Like we've got a senator who's drilling Blinken, kind of like we heard yesterday, we reported on. But in this case, it was about the that drone attack and asking basically, did you know who you were attacking when you did? Basically, because the reports now are allegedly saying that they hit the wrong person, right? And the question is pretty heated question to say, do you know who you were targeting, right? And if the answer is, well, no, we're researching that now. Well, it's like, shouldn't you know who it is you're targeting before you target them, right? So interesting conversation there against Blinken. So go take a look. Lots of other things going on. Plenty of Millie conversations. Plenty of other things around the V, which I know lots of people are interested in. not much today in way of the bean counters, but that was yesterday. So go take a look at yesterday's show. So a reminder, every day when we put on a show like this, we have everything else that we can't cover. It's either too hot for TV. It's either just didn't make it in the show. Lots of stuff that you probably need to know about. It's an entire show in and of itself. So if you missed yesterday's, click on that and scroll down to web-only content and look for it. It's on marfooglenews.com.
And by the way, this tweet alone says, for those paying attention at home, this is a lot closer to a coup than anything we saw on the next, right? It says, Bob Woodward, Milling was overseeing the mobilization of America's national security state without the knowledge of the American people or the rest of the world. Is that not flippin' scary or what? If that's actually true, that's treason. See, a lot of people, professionals are calling it treason. I know that a former military member said that it was sedition or mutiny, but that's just absolutely nuts. Oh, because they said that he would have to actively know he's doing it, or it has to be an enemy of the state to be treason. But I think that after you do that, you might just be. I don't know.
Nonetheless, he's acting, and the whole nuclear part, he's just an advisor. At the end of the day, he's an advisor to the administration. He actually doesn't have chain of command. So for him to allegedly insert himself into the chain of command and say the chain of command comes to me, has nothing to do with that role. That role is just an advisor.
Yeah, that's insanity. And they listened because he's a general and he knows how to get up in people's face and be like, get down and give me 20 before you launch a nuke, talk to me. I think that's how it went. But,
And that should be easy to corroborate, right? Like, there's numerous people that conversation happened with. So if they want to investigate it, I'm sure the military has a procedure for that, and they'll probably take care of it, I would assume. I'd love to assume. I would, who knows what's going to happen the way this world's been going.
I just wonder if that was something that could have been recorded, or when they go into that secret meeting that they went into, did they go into a room that would, I know that there's certain rooms where they go in, they get checked for listening devices and all that as like standard procedure. I wonder if that was, or the situation room, did they go down to the situation room? Did they have really nice coffee? What kind of coffee do they serve in the situation room? These are all big questions on my mind. Is it Coffee Mate? Is it French vanilla? Is it Irish cream? Sorry, I had a JB moment there, but is it Irish cream? Is it something else? Dex, did you turn off my mic?
Well, you were starting to talk about something that we just couldn't have you say.
But I'm the one in charge here, right?
No, apparently not. There's people in charge of microphones that have more power than the person in charge.
I think that's absolutely...
We see how this works.
I can just see it now. It'd be like, that was handler. Get out of here. Thank you, guys. Everybody have a wonderful night. Cynthia Lynn, you are the top supporter. Every time after the show, we do a shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. It's where we say thank you to the people that matter most. You guys are the credits. You are the credits to the show. Thank you, everyone on YouTube that supported us tonight. Rusty88, I really appreciate you. Thank you, and thank you. This is my screen name. I will be getting to you guys, and I appreciate you, and I'll be calling BOD. Now, Nehelda Mathieson says, sing for when we go in the name of Jesus. Tell me who can stand before us. In the name of Jesus, we have the victory. Much love to you, Foogle fam. I don't know the whole song, but I just sung the main line. Sherilyn Rose, thank you so much. Project Exodus, thank you for your support tonight. Kate Paul, thank you again. Says Douglas Voigt contends the world end by solar cycle in 2046. We have 25 years or so. We should be looking him up. Douglas Voigt, Diehold Foundation. Some say it's before that this cycle, the 25th cycle, will be the worst we have ever seen. Shane Reed says, greetings to all my friends. I think you guys have given at least a 4-month head start, like many times before. Thanks to you both. Well, thank you for paying attention. Vic Santiago, Hodgepodge, Geraldo, Art of a Misfit, Rhea, Barefoot Lass, and everyone else that supported us tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a wonderful, wonderful night.
See, it's true. It's exactly how it look, and I'll tell you what. Follow your gut. Everything that you see as true is exactly how it look, and I'll tell you what. Follow your gut. Everything that you see as true is exactly how it look, and I'll tell you what. Follow your gut. I've been down the road, life goes down. Everybody's home, everybody gon' go live on the high, go back down. Barefoot Lass in the spot keeps running. Animal clean and Lisa Sun. I drive with a Caleb Moray, 8333. I love my honeybees and my Santa Marie. I'll be OD, I hope you eat. I hope you be so much better today. Jesse S and DNL, a fly girl going with the stress. A Sandy Morgan and the best people here and they yes. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Jesse S and I bring it down. Upon my everybody single now. I put Nokia nose barely leather. No, 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 no. I got the EOT vet. I bring Lexi with the Dex and the best bet. I bring back, I with the teddy bit back. I big down, down, I bound, bound. A Joe and a W, a Reba Snorfo and Joe, a Webster 2 and a Jeff Neal, and a Bonzo, and a Miss Jam, a Miss Bram, a big time, oh nah, a Lady Onzo, Rally's Ole, a Laura Griffin and the Bully Mole, a Bear Claws and a School Lad, a Look Dog Shines in the Tule. No, 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 no. Single now, yeah, everybody gonna go back and I find I got my friends, and I say they'll be there with the Marfoogle family and the Sparkies run. What's your name? 45.
Let's make a fresh one for Cynthia Lynn.
Mm,